You know that insurance policy you have for your car, your home, maybe your health? Well, it's way more than just a piece of paper. It's actually a living, breathing legal agreement with a whole hidden life story, from the second it's created to the day you really, really need it. So today, let's pull back the curtain and explore the surprisingly fascinating world of Singapore insurance law.
We're going to follow the entire life cycle of a policy. First up, we'll get into the big idea behind why insurance even exists. Then, we'll see how the deal actually gets made. After that, we'll talk about the special kind of trust that's required. Then comes the critical part, making a claim. And finally, we'll look at what happens after the payout.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. What is insurance, really? I mean, at its core, because it's not as simple as just buying a product off a shelf. The real answer gets to the heart of why it's so important in the first place.
Seriously, think about it for a second. You're handing over your hard-earned money every month or every year. But for what exactly? You don't get a shiny new gadget. You're not buying a physical thing at all. You're actually buying something way more abstract. And honestly, a whole lot more powerful.
What you're buying is a service, and that service is called risk transfer. You are literally paying a company to take on a massive, scary, uncertain financial risk that you probably couldn't handle on your own. Think about a house fire or a huge medical bill. It's a way for all of us to protect ourselves from the financial chaos of life's what-ifs.
Okay, but what stops this from just being a big casino? What's the difference between insurance and just placing a bet on something bad happening? Well, it's a super important legal idea called insurable interest. See, you can't take out a fire insurance policy on your neighbor's house, right? Because if it burns down, you don't actually lose anything financially. To get a policy, you have to have a real stake in the game. That's the line in the sand that makes it a legitimate contract, not just a lottery ticket on someone else's misfortune.
So you've got a risk and you've got an insurable interest. Awesome. How do you turn that into an actual policy? Well, it's not a simple checkout process. It's more like like a carefully choreographed legal dance.
Now, here's something you might not know. Unlike most things you buy, when it comes to insurance, you're the one who makes the first move. When you fill out that proposal form, you are legally making an offer to the insurance company. They then look at it and can either accept it, or they might come back with slightly different terms, which is a counteroffer. Sometimes they'll give you what's called a cover note for temporary protection while they decide. And here's the kicker. A legally binding contract can be in place before you even get that fancy policy document in the mail.
Okay, now we get to the part that makes insurance contracts totally different from, say, buying a used car. You know the phrase, buyer beware? Well, you can pretty much throw that out the window here. Insurance contracts are held to a much, much higher standard. They are contracts of uberrima fides, a fancy Latin term that just means utmost good faith.
This quote, from all the way back in 1766, nails it perfectly. Just think about it. You know everything about your health, your driving record, the leaky faucet in your basement. The insurer? They know basically nothing. They are placing their complete trust in you to give them the full, unvarnished truth so they can figure out what they're getting into. You have a legal duty not to hold anything important back.
And this duty of good faith really boils down to two key things you have to get right. The first is non-disclosure. This is about the important stuff you don't say, like maybe you forget to mention a past health issue. The other is misrepresentation. That's about actively saying something that just isn't true. And either one of these can give the insurer the right to tear up the whole policy.
Now, if you look deep inside your policy's fine print, you'll find that some terms are treated as way more important than others. They get a special name, warranties, and you really, really need to pay attention to these, because breaking one, even by accident, has consequences that are, well, they're pretty shocking to be honest.
Okay, the rules for insurance warranties are incredibly harsh. Let's imagine your business policy has a warranty that you must have a working sprinkler system at all times. If that system is broken for just one day, the insurer is off the hook from that exact moment. It doesn't matter if you fix it the very next day. And get this, it doesn't even matter if the claim you end up making is for a flood, which has nothing to do with fire. A breach is a breach. It is an absolute zero tolerance, no excuses kind of rule.
So, you've done everything right, and one day, the unexpected happens. You actually need to use your insurance. This is it. This is the moment of truth where the promise meets reality. Let's walk through what happens when you make a claim.
So when it comes to claims, the law draws a really important line in the sand. On one side, you have an exaggerated claim. Let's say you start with a high number just as a tactic for negotiation. That's often just seen as part of the back and forth. But a fraudulent claim, That is a whole different ballgame. That's when you knowingly lie, like saying a diamond ring was stolen when you never even owned one.
And the penalty for fraud is no joke. It's not just that the fake part of your claim gets denied. No, the insurer often gets the right to cancel the entire claim and refuse to pay out anything under that policy, even the parts of your claim that were totally legitimate. The stakes are just incredibly high. All right, let's move to the final chapter in our policy's life story. Your claim has been approved, the insurer has paid you, you think it's over, right? Well, the story doesn't always end there. There are a couple of other things that can happen. This old legal saying is the key to understanding what happens next. The whole point of insurance is something called indemnity, which just means putting you back in the same financial spot you were in before the loss. The goal is to make you whole again, not for you to make a profit from a disaster. And this one rule gives the insurer two very important rights after they pay you.
The first right is called subrogation. So let's say a careless driver smashes into your parked car. Your insurance company pays for the repairs. Subrogation means your insurer can now step into your shoes and go after the driver who was at fault to get that money back. It makes sure the responsible person actually pays, and it stops you from getting paid twice, once from your insurer and a second time from the person who caused the damage.
The second principle is called contribution. This one kicks in if, for whatever reason, you have two different insurance policies covering the exact same house. If there's a fire, you can't just claim the full amount from both companies and make a huge profit. Instead, the rule of contribution allows the two insurance companies to figure it out between themselves and share the cost of your claim.
So if you want a simple way to remember the difference, subrogation is your insurer going after the other guy who caused the problem. Contribution is your insurer talking to your other insurer to split the bill. Both of these systems exist for one reason, to uphold that core idea that insurance makes you whole, but it doesn't let you get rich.
So when you boil it all down, an insurance policy isn't a product you buy. It's a complex, two-way relationship. It's built on a promise of utmost good faith. The insurer promises to have your back if something goes wrong, but in return, you're promising to be completely honest, to disclose everything, and to stick to those critical warranties. So the real question to leave you with is this. When you signed on that dotted line, did you really know what you were promising in return?